Charles, that has nothing to do with...
Do you love me?
I've always loved you. I probably always will, but...
Here are 15 weird facts you didn't know about Charles in Charge. 1984. Fact 15. Baio and Aames appeared in all 126 episodes. Throughout Charles in Charge's tumultuous journey from network cancellation to syndicated success with massive cast changes, family replacements, and behind-the-scenes chaos, only 2 actors appeared in every single one of the show's 126 episodes: Scott Baio and Willie Aames. When CBS canceled the show after season 1 and Universal revived it for syndication 18 months later, almost everyone else was gone. The entire Pembroke family was written out and replaced with the Powell family. Jennifer Runyon, who played Charles's girlfriend Gwendolyn, only appeared in a couple of episodes after the revival. Even in the later syndicated seasons, main cast members like Sandra Kearns, who played Mother Ellen Powell, reduced their appearances, with Kearns only showing up once in season 4 and twice in season 5. But Baio and Aames showed up for work every single time, carrying the show through all its transformations. Their consistent presence provided the only real continuity for viewers who had watched since the beginning. The friendship between their characters, Charles and Buddy, formed the emotional core of the series, and their real-life chemistry translated to screen in ways that kept audiences engaged even as everything else changed around them. By the time the series finale aired on November 10, 1990, Baio and Aames had spent 6 years and 126 episodes building this odd little sitcom into a cult classic. They were there for the canceled CBS season, the 18-month hiatus, the revival with a new family, and every episode afterward until the bizarre dream sequence ending closed out the series for good. Their commitment made them the only true constants in a show that changed nearly everything else. Fact 14. A Vectrex video game console appeared in the pilot. The pilot episode of Charles in Charge featured an appearance by one of the rarest and most unusual video game consoles ever made, the Vectrex arcade system. The Vectrex was the world's only home vector arcade system, meaning it used vector graphics that drew lines directly on the screen rather than using pixels like other consoles. What makes this appearance particularly weird is the timing. The Vectrex had been discontinued just a few months before Charles in Charge premiered on October 3, 1984, making it an already obsolete piece of gaming history when it showed up on screen. In the pilot episode, one of the Pembroke children mentions the Vectrex, and the character Douglas says something about killing Martians, referencing a game being played on the system, while the Vectrex only had a minor role. In that first episode, its appearance created an unexpected legacy. The Vectrex has a dedicated cult following among retro gaming enthusiasts who appreciate its unique technology and rarity. Decades later, when developers created the Vectrex Regeneration app in the 2010s, which emulated the original console on various platforms, they included an Easter egg tribute to this Charles in Charge appearance. Inside the app, users could look around a virtual room where the emulated Vectrex was stationed, and there was a note visible that said, "Killing Martians," directly referencing the line from the pilot episode. One of the staff members behind the Vectrex Regeneration app had hinted to Vectrex Wiki founder Daryl 500 that something in the final product would include a nod to the wiki, and this Charles in Charge reference was their chosen tribute, connecting 1980s television history with retro gaming preservation. Fact 13. The show tried 3 failed spin-offs. As Charles in Charge approached its final season, the producers made 3 awkward attempts to launch spin-off series using existing cast members, but none of them succeeded. These backdoor pilots were poorly disguised as regular episodes and used a bizarre creative choice, having the main cast members play completely different characters who just happened to look exactly like their Charles in Charge characters. The first attempt featured Ellen Travolta, who played Charles's mother Lillian, appearing as Lillian's sister Sally in an episode that focused on Sally's car wash business that was facing closure. The second backdoor pilot centered on Nicole Eggert, playing Jamie's identical twin cousin Amanda in an episode called Fair Exchange, which revolved around Amanda's family taking in a foreign exchange student from Romania. The third spin-off attempt featured Willie Aames as Buddy's blonde cousin working at a hotel in Hawaii, dealing with a wacky staff and even wackier guests in an episode titled Last Resort. All 3 episodes awkwardly explained away the identical appearances by making the new characters relatives of the regular characters, as if being related automatically meant you'd look exactly the same. The shows were clearly hoping to capitalize on the popularity of Charles in Charge and these familiar actors by launching them into new series, but the strategy was transparent and unconvincing. Networks passed on all 3 potential spin-offs, likely recognizing them as desperate attempts to extend the franchise rather than genuinely compelling new shows. These failed pilots represented the producers' efforts to keep the Charles in Charge universe alive beyond the main series. But viewers and network executives apparently weren't interested in watching the same actors play slightly different versions of similar characters in new settings. Fact 12. Sexual abuse allegations erupted years later.
I'm so confused.
So I'm sure Russ will explain it all to you one day, in a nice long letter.
Nearly 3 decades after Charles in Charge ended, serious allegations emerged that cast a dark shadow over the show's legacy. In January of 2018, actress Nicole Eggert, who played Jamie Powell from 1987 to 1990, publicly accused Scott Baio of sexual abuse that allegedly occurred when she was a minor working on the show. Eggert claimed that Baio had molested her, starting when she was 14 years old, and that the inappropriate behavior continued for several years, including a sexual encounter when she was 17. She stated that Baio had manipulated her emotionally and warned her not to tell anyone because it was illegal and would result in him going to jail and the show being canceled. Baio strongly denied all allegations, claiming that he and Eggert had only one consensual sexual encounter when she was 18 years old and of legal age. He said it would have been impossible for him to behave inappropriately on a television set where children were always supervised by teachers and parents. In February of 2018, another cast member came forward. Alexander Polinsky, who played young Adam Powell, held a press conference with his attorney Lisa Bloom and accused Baio of verbal, physical, and sexual harassment throughout his time on the show from ages 11 to 15. Polinsky claimed Baio used homophobic slurs against him, shared inappropriate sexual stories, and once threw hot tea in his face. Baio denied these allegations as well and said he took 5 polygraph tests that he passed. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office investigated, but ultimately declined to file charges in June of 2018, stating that while they found Eggert and her witnesses credible, the statute of limitations had expired. The controversy remains unresolved, with both sides maintaining their versions of events. Fact 11. The theme song singer also wrote He's a Dream. Everyone who watched Charles in Charge remembers that incredibly catchy theme song that opened every episode with the lyrics about Charles being in charge of our days and our nights. The woman who sang that memorable tune was Shandy Cinnamon, but her connection to 80s pop culture extended far beyond this one sitcom. Cinnamon was born as Chandra Cinnamon in Miami, Florida in 1952 into a Huguenot family. Her path to music wasn't straightforward. She dropped out of high school and moved to Big Sur, California to pursue her dream of becoming a singer and songwriter. After a bicycle accident forced her to return to Florida for recovery, she studied music and drama at a community college. While singing in a local restaurant, a disc jockey noticed her talent and connected her with Elektra Asylum Records. Launching her professional career, her biggest success came when she co-wrote and performed the song He's a Dream with Ronald Magnus, which was featured in the 1983 hit film Flashdance. That song helped establish her as a go-to artist for movie soundtracks in the 80s. She also contributed Tough Love to the Karate Kid soundtrack, and her song Fight to Survive appeared in the Jean-Claude Van Damme martial arts film Bloodsport. Her other film and television work included songs for Making the Grade, Gotcha, The Little Drummer Girl, and various TV movies. The Charles in Charge theme song was composed by David Kurtz, Michael Jacobs, and Al Burton. But Cinnamon's performance made it iconic. Interestingly, the theme music was mellower in the first season and was remixed with a more upbeat sound for the syndication run starting in season 2. Shandi Cinnamon passed away on July 4, 2024. Fact 10. Future stars had early guest appearances.
In the kitchen, an entire pie.
Mom.
Oh, what kind is it?
Mom!
It's boysenberry.
Mom!
Before they became household names, several actors who would later achieve major stardom made early career appearances on Charles in Charge during its run from 1984 to 1990. These guest spots show how the sitcom served as a stepping stone for young talent trying to break into Hollywood. Meg Ryan, who would go on to become America's romantic comedy sweetheart in films like When Harry Met Sally and Sleepless in Seattle, appeared in a 2-episode arc during the show's first season in 1984 and 1985, playing a character named Megan Parker. Matthew Perry, years before he became Chandler Bing on Friends, guest starred in a 1985 episode when he was just a teenager. Christina Applegate, who would later star in Married with Children, appeared in 2 episodes before her career took off. Mark Hyphen, Paul Gosselaar, showed up in a 1988 episode several years before he became Zach Morris on Saved by the Bell. Even Pamela Anderson, the future Baywatch icon, made a guest appearance in a season 5 episode. British pop singer Samantha Fox, who was famous for her music career in the 1980s, appeared in 1 episode playing a famous singer named Samantha Steele, who becomes romantically involved with Charles before he discovers she's married. Additionally, Mindy Cohn from The Facts of Life guest starred as Buddy's sister Bunny in an episode dealing with alcoholism, and gymnast Julianne McNamara appeared in both seasons 1 and 2 as a cheerleader. The show also featured comedian Ben Stein in multiple episodes, playing various characters, including a loan officer, guidance counselor, college professor, and mental patient throughout the series. These appearances demonstrate how Charles in Charge provided early exposure for actors who would later become much more famous. Fact 9. Ellen Travolta played 3 different characters. Ellen Travolta, the older sister of Grease star John Travolta, had an interesting recurring presence throughout Charles in Charge, but her role was more complicated than most viewers realized. Ellen played Charles's mother Lillian, a character who became increasingly important when the show moved to syndication and appeared in 70 episodes across seasons 2 through 5. This marked the second time Ellen Travolta had played a mother figure to Scott Baio's character, as she had previously played his mother on both Happy Days and its spin-off Joni Loves Chachi. But here's where things get weird. Ellen Travolta didn't just play Lillian on Charles in Charge. She also appeared as 2 other completely different characters who were written as Lillian's sisters, meaning Charles's aunts. In separate episodes, she played characters named Vanessa and Sally, both of whom were established as Lillian's siblings. The show used this casting choice to create poorly disguised backdoor pilots for potential spin-offs. One episode featured Sally running a car wash that was in danger of closing, while another focused on Vanessa in a different scenario. Since these characters were supposed to be Lillian's sisters, the show wrote them as looking exactly like her, which was a convenient explanation for why the same actress played all 3 roles. However, the show made sure that Lillian and her sisters never appeared on screen at the same time, which would have required using doubles or complicated camera tricks. Ellen Travolta essentially played 3 members of the same family across different episodes, all while maintaining her main role as Charles's mother throughout the series. None of these potential spin-offs were picked up by any network. Fact 8. The finale revealed. It was all a dream.
You know, pretty racy. And they also have subtitles, which you have to, read.
It's okay, Charles. Russell explained everything.
Television finales often try to provide closure or go out with a memorable twist, but Charles in Charge chose one of the weirdest possible endings for its series finale. The final episode, titled Charles B. DeMille, aired on November 10, 1990, after 5 seasons and 126 episodes. The episode's plot involves Charles having to choose between directing a benefit show to raise money for the Powell children's canceled field trip or studying for an important exam that would get him accepted to Princeton for graduate school. But the bizarre twist comes at the very end of the episode after the main story concludes. In the final moments, Scott Baio suddenly wakes up in bed, breaking character completely. He realizes that he's been dreaming that he was the star of a weekly television series, essentially suggesting that everything viewers had watched for 6 years was happening inside a dream. But it gets even stranger. After Baio wakes up, he hears the voices of the rest of the cast speaking to him. They tell him that yes, it was all a dream, but that he can get back into the dream world if he wants to. All he has to do is close his eyes and say the words, "I don't want to wake up." When Baio follows these instructions, the rest of the cast suddenly reappears back in character on the familiar living room set, and the dream of Charles in Charge continues. This meta, self-aware ending was completely bizarre for a family sitcom and called into question the reality of everything that had happened in the series. Was Charles real? Was any of it real? The finale offered no clear answers, instead choosing to play with the fourth wall and leave viewers with an ambiguous, surreal conclusion that turned the entire series into a potential fever dream. Fact 7. Scott Baio directed 36 episodes. Most people remember Scott Baio as the charming star of Charles in Charge, who played the title character for all 126 episodes. But Baio took on another major role behind the camera that many fans don't know about. Starting primarily in seasons 4 and 5 of the syndicated run, Baio became one of the show's main directors, helming 36 episodes total. This made him not just the face of the series, but also a significant creative force behind it. When Baio directed episodes, he was credited under his full name, Scott Vincent Baio, rather than just Scott Baio, giving those episodes a slightly different feel in the credits. His directorial work represented a substantial portion of the show's later seasons, and he brought his intimate knowledge of the characters and tone to the director's chair. Baio had lived with these characters for years as an actor, so when he stepped behind the camera, he understood exactly how scenes should play and how to get the best performances from his fellow cast members. The experience of directing Charles in Charge launched Baio into a directing career that extended far beyond the show. After Charles in Charge ended in 1990, Baio went on to direct episodes of 15 other television series throughout the 90s and 2000s, using the skills he developed while working on his own show. But his contributions to Charles in Charge didn't stop at directing. Baio also wrote one episode during the show's run, giving him writing credit in addition to his starring and directing roles. This level of multi-hyphenate involvement was relatively unusual for sitcom stars at the time, and it showed Baio's commitment to the series that revived his career after Happy Days and gave him creative control over a show that bears his characters. Fact 6. Willie Aames became Bible Man after bankruptcy. Willie Aames played Charles's goofy best friend, Buddy Lemback, for all 126 episodes of the series, providing comic relief as the girl-crazy underachiever who always had Charles's back. But Aames's life after Charles in Charge became a cautionary tale about the dark side of Hollywood fame. During his teen heartthrob years in the 1980s, Aames developed serious problems with drugs and alcohol that he struggled with for more than 2 decades. The money he made from his acting career eventually disappeared, and by 2008, Aames hit rock bottom. He filed for bankruptcy that year, owing $350,000 in debt. According to financial documents, he had earned only $14,000 for appearing on VH1's Celebrity Fit Club and $15,000 for writing his memoir, Grace is Enough, about his struggles. His situation grew even more desperate when his car was repossessed, and his wife of 22 years asked for a divorce. On Thanksgiving Day of 2008, overwhelmed by these losses, Aames attempted to take his own life. He had left his Kansas home and rented a room in Los Angeles from a friend, and in his darkest moment, he stole a bottle of Jack Daniels and tried to end it all. Thankfully, he survived. During his recovery, Aames found faith while attending Alcoholics Anonymous meetings and became a born-again Christian and ordained minister. This spiritual transformation led him to an unlikely second career as Bibleman, a Christian superhero character he played in direct-to-video productions from 1995 to 2003. He wore armor and fought villains while teaching biblical lessons to children. After his personal and financial crisis, Aames later worked as a cruise ship director before returning to Hollywood for small roles and Hallmark movies. Fact 5. The show died and came back to life.
I'm gonna write my own essay. Of course, it may take me 2 or 3 years.
Charles in Charge has one of the most unusual survival stories in television history. The show premiered on CBS in October of 1984 with high hopes, positioned in the Wednesday night lineup at 8 p.m. But it faced brutal competition from ABC's action series The Fall Guy and NBC's new drama Highway to Heaven, starring Michael Landon. CBS's sitcom lineup was struggling overall at the time, with only their Monday night comedies, Kate and Allie and Newhart, performing well in the ratings. Charles in Charge couldn't break through against its competition. Despite CBS allowing the show to complete all 22 episodes ordered for the first season, the network made the decision to cancel it. By April of 1985, Charles in Charge was officially dead. CBS aired the final 2 episodes that spring and then moved on, replacing it with other programs that also failed. The show was gone, the cast released from their contracts, and it seemed like Charles in Charge would become just another forgotten sitcom from the 1980s. But something interesting was happening in television at the time. A trend had emerged where canceled network sitcoms were finding new life in first-run syndication, where shows could air on local stations rather than on one of the 3 major networks. Universal Television had been watching this trend and saw an opportunity. 18 months after the cancellation, in January of 1987, Universal made the unusual decision to revive Charles in Charge for syndication. This resurrection required reworking the entire format, replacing most of the cast, and starting fresh with new storylines. The gamble paid off spectacularly. The syndicated version became far more successful than the original CBS run, lasting 4 more seasons and producing 104 additional episodes before finally ending in November of 1990. Fact 4. The entire cast was replaced. After season 1, television shows occasionally replace one actor when someone leaves, but Charles in Charge did something almost unprecedented. They replaced nearly the entire cast all at once. When the show premiered on CBS in October of 1984, Charles worked for the Pembroke family, which consisted of parents Jill and Stan, played by Julie Cobb and James Widows, and their 3 children, Lila, Douglas, and Jason. There was also Charles's girlfriend Gwendolyn, played by Jennifer Runyon. These characters and actors made up the show's first season, but when CBS canceled the series in 1985 due to low ratings, all the actors were released from their contracts. When Universal decided to revive Charles in Charge for first-run syndication in January of 1987, the cast situation had changed completely. Some of the Pembroke family actors had moved on to other projects and weren't available or interested in returning. Only the actor playing young Jason expressed interest in coming back, but the producers made a bigger decision. Rather than trying to reassemble the scattered cast, they wrote out the entire Pembroke family and brought in a completely new family called the Powells. The only people who returned were Scott Baio as Charles and Willie Aames as his best friend Buddy. Even the house stayed the same. The show explained this massive change by saying the Pembrokes had moved to Seattle and sublet their home to the Powell family, who agreed to keep Charles on as their live-in babysitter. The new Powell family included Mother Ellen, Grandfather Walter, and 3 children named Jamie, Sarah, and Adam. Jason Pembroke did appear in the first episode of Season 2 with a different actress playing his mother to say goodbye and explain the situation to viewers before disappearing forever. Fact 3. Educational book publisher produced a sitcom.
Look, I know we have a date tonight, but, I've been doing a lot of thinking.
Oh, don't strain yourself. You know, the usual dinner, a movie, and a dozen roses will be fine.
If you grew up in the 1980s or 90s, you probably remember Scholastic book fairs at your school, where you could buy books, posters, and educational materials from those exciting catalogs. Scholastic Corporation built its reputation as America's largest publisher and distributor of children's books and educational materials. But what most people don't know is that this wholesome educational company also produced primetime television sitcoms. Charles in Charge was co-produced by Scholastic Productions, the television and media division of Scholastic Corporation. Yes, the same company that brought you Clifford the Big Red Dog, Goosebumps books, and those classroom magazines like Scholastic News decided to get into the sitcom business. Scholastic Productions partnered with Al Burton Productions and Universal Television to create the show. This marked an unusual and somewhat bizarre venture for a company primarily known for getting kids excited about reading. While Scholastic Productions did create some educational children's programming that made sense with their brand, producing a live-action sitcom about a male babysitter for prime-time audiences seemed like an odd detour from their mission of promoting literacy. The company's logo, featuring their distinctive open book design, appeared in the end credits of every episode, right alongside the other production companies. Scholastic Productions also produced other television series during this era, including Voyagers and My Secret Identity, but Charles in Charge remains their most well-known foray into mainstream television. The partnership was successful enough that the show ran for 5 seasons in syndication after its initial network cancellation, proving that even a children's book publisher could find success in the competitive world of television comedy. Fact 2. The role was written for Michael J. Fox.
Mom, as you know, relationships are a lot like the stars in the sky.
Before Scott Baio ever stepped into Charles's sneakers, the character was written with a completely different actor in mind. When creators Michael Jacobs and Barbara Weisberg were developing Charles in Charge, they originally envisioned Michael J. Fox in the lead role. Fox was a hot commodity in 1984, having recently achieved massive success, and the producers believed his star power could launch their new sitcom into instant hit territory. They thought his charm and comedic timing would be perfect for playing a college student working as a live-in babysitter. So they approached Fox with the role, hoping he would sign on to lead their show about a male nanny juggling school, work, and family responsibilities. But Fox turned them down. The rejection makes perfect sense when you consider what Fox was doing at the time. He was already the star of Family Ties, playing Alex P. Keaton on NBC's hit sitcom that had premiered in 1982 and was nowhere near cancellation. In fact, Family Ties was gaining popularity and would go on to run until 1989. Fox was contractually obligated to that show and simply couldn't take on another series even if he wanted to. The producers seemed to have forgotten this small detail when they wrote the part for him. After Fox declined, the role went to Scott Baio, who had just finished his run playing Chachi on Happy Days and its spin-off Joni Loves Chachi. While Charles in Charge struggled in its first season on CBS and got canceled, it's interesting to imagine how different the show might have been with Fox in the lead, though his schedule would have made it impossible anyway. Fact 1. Charles's last name was never revealed.
You know, if we ever had children, they would be beautiful. How many children do you want to have?
Would 3 be too many times to have children?
For 6 years and 126 episodes, viewers tuned in every week to watch Charles take care of kids, juggle college life, and navigate hilarious situations with his best friend Buddy. But there's something nobody ever learned about the main character, something the writers deliberately kept hidden from the audience: his last name. Throughout the entire run of Charles in Charge, the character's surname was never once mentioned on screen. This wasn't an oversight or something the writers forgot about. It was intentional, and at times they had to get creative to avoid revealing it. In certain episodes, situations would come up where someone would naturally ask for Charles's full name, or his mother Lillian would be about to say it, but the scene would always get interrupted or cut off right before the last name could be spoken. The writers treated it almost like a running gag, dancing around the topic whenever it came up. This mysterious decision led to a lot of confusion among fans, especially since Scott Baio had previously played a character named Charles on Happy Days. That character, nicknamed Chachi, had the full name Charles Arcola. Adding to the confusion, Ellen Travolta played Scott Baio's mother on both shows, though her character had different names in each series. On Happy Days and its spin-off Joni Loves Chachi, she was Luisa Arcola Del Vecchio, while on Charles in Charge, she played Lillian with no last name. This casting choice made many viewers wonder if Charles was actually supposed to be the same character as Chachi, just living a different life. The show even lampshaded this mystery in the series finale, when the meta ending played with the idea that nothing about the show